Today we'll have a look at some of Arrival's latest news. Arrival has hired the Chief Human Resource Officer from Gett. Commercial electric vehicle maker Arrival has appointed Mandeep Bajwa as its Chief Human Resource Officer to oversee HR across the company's distributed microfactory. Shared exclusive with UKTN, Bajwa joined Gett, a ground transportation management platform, where she held the role of Chief People Officer. Bajwa will join Arrival later this month. She also previously worked for tech startups WeWork and Cloud Kitchens. And we've actually got a quote from Bajwa, and I quote, "I've been very fortunate in my career to work across a range of industries including technology, transport and real estate, all at different levels of growth. The combination of different industries and maturity of business models have given me a unique perspective on building and sustaining culture for long-term growth." So this is a new appointment for Arrival, and it's only recently that Arrival van and buses, they receive EU certifications, with the van expected to begin production later this year at its first microfactory in Bicester, Oxfordshire. Now the headquarters of the company is in London, and it has an R&D team in Banbury, Oxfordshire. So I think it's fair to say that Arrival is starting to ramp up not just production, but areas within their business that they need support in. Now Mandeep will be in charge. Now Mandeep will be responsible for Arrival's strategy in managing all employees globally, overseeing all of Arrival's employees and workplace operation, including global recruitment, people management, operations, diversity, equality and inclusion, and organizational effectiveness. She brings almost 2 decades of global experience across all facets of human resource strategy and development on a global scale, having served most recently as the Chief People Officer at Gett, the leading provider of ground transportation management. Prior, Mandeep held senior management positions across a range of established corporational environments to unicorn startups including Cloud Kitchen and WeWork, as I've said previously. But it's just so impressive. But it's honestly quite impressive to see that Arrival has gotten someone who's more than equipped to handle this role. Now things are moving in the right direction for Arrival, and I couldn't be any happier. Honestly, this is what I wanted for a very long time. To see the Arrival vans start in production, to see the Arrival buses start in production, it's honestly seriously exciting. Given that I've been supporting this company ever since I found out about this company. It's been absolutely incredible so far, so this is good to see from Arrival. Now we know what the next step in Arrival journey is: building vehicles, their vans and their buses. But what happens to the Arrival vehicle? What happens to the Arrival Uber car that they had in partnership developed with Uber? So now that Arrival has certification for both the van and bus, it looks ideal that the car is on the next horizon. And this vehicle absolutely looks beautiful. And this vehicle is actually a beast. It's actually a really big vehicle. It's meant for carrying people, luggages, and having enough space for people of all different abilities. Now, because they're focusing on production for the van and bus, this will give them even more focus on the Arrival car. And the more I've learned about Arrival, the more I'm starting to understand their idea of microfactories. In fact, just the other day, I was listening to an episode of Automaking. This episode, they interviewed Avinash Rugoobur, the president of Arrival, and he did a great job explaining what Arrival is doing, explaining the future of Arrival, the idea of Arrival. That Arrival initially wanted to start building vehicles, but they said to themselves, hold on a minute, before we redesign vehicles, we need to redesign the factories and how factories work. And that idea of factories has not changed for the last 100 years. Car factories have always been the same. The assembly line have always been the same, and within the microfactories of Arrival, there will be no assembly line. So I do recommend you checking out this episode of Automaking. It was absolutely brilliant to listen, especially because I love the Arrival company so much. I support so much of what they do. It was really nice, a full interview, almost an hour long, if not longer. I got an opportunity to just listen to what Avinash had to say about Arrival. And it's so incredible to see, because what struck me the most was the idea of the microfactories. And it says it right here on their website as well. President Avinash Rugoobur joined the show to explain how its 10,000 unit a year microfactory upend the established rule of automaking, how the products enable these dramatic changes and where the whole thing is headed. So the real question is, how big can microfactories be? The good thing is that they can use current factories and simply turn them into microfactories. They don't need to build new factories. Now, companies are always shipping parts from factories to factories, so for Arrival, this won't be any different. But here's where it gets really interesting. Let's create a scenario where Arrival has 10 different factories. And let's just say each of these factories, they can produce 10,000 vehicles per year. That's 100,000 vehicles in an entire year. Now, I'm quite sure that Arrival intends on having more than 10 factories. They'll probably end up having 50 factories in the next decade. Who knows? Now, that might sound crazy because you're thinking, well, it takes Tesla forever to build their mega factories, because those are mega factories. Arrival factories are already built in warehouses. They just have to purchase the warehouse or buy the lease and turn it into a microfactory. And they don't have to install assembly lines. The manufacturing of vehicle that Arrival has created is completely different, and it's a bit more minimal. Hence, it's easier to get it up and running. Arrival could have microfactories running in under 3 months. And that's just from my own opinion. And ramping up that factory to 10,000 vehicles is definitely within the question. Depending on the factory sizes, of course. But imagine if Arrival plans to build 1 million vehicles per year, which is sure one of their ultimate targets. How many factories will they need? Well, let's create another scenario. Let's say that Arrival has 20 factories. Let's say that Arrival has 20 factories before the end of this decade. 20 factories, and let's say each of those factories, they can produce an average of 50,000 vehicles per year in each factory. Well, ladies and gents, if you take out your calculator and do that maths, 50 times 20, you get 1 million. So when you break it down into small figures, all Arrival needs is 10 to 20 factories in the next decade. That's absolutely incredible. So you break it down into small figures, you start to understand that Arrival's goal is actually more than accomplishable. Now, that's my video for today, but I really enjoyed this episode of podcast. I hope you can check it out and let me know if you like it. Thank you for watching this video until the end. Subscribe to see more, leave a like, leave a comment. And recently, I've been thinking about contacting Avinash Rugoobur, or Arrival's CEO himself, just to ask if they would like to do an interview on the Monument channel. And once again, if you like that idea, just leave a comment and let me know. But I'm seriously considering it.